get started. So, well, good morning or good afternoon, everyone, whatever the case may be. In Idaho, it's still morning, but I know that's not the case across the country. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Scott Jensen. I'm currently serving as the NACAA Vice President. And one of my responsibilities as Vice President is the committees and the committee work. And so we're fortunate, or the way our structure is, we have 3 different councils with council chairs that serve in those positions. And so I just want to take a second and introduce our council chairs. I'll start with David Marison. David's not on yet. He had a conflict come up. He may join us towards the end, but David is the Extension Development Council Chair. And then we have Johnny Harper from Missouri, and Johnny is the Program Recognition Council Chair. And then our presenter today and the Professional Improvement Council Chair is newly awarded Dr. Sherry Beatty Sullivan. And so with that, I'm just going to turn the time over to Sherry, and she's going to make the presentation. And then if you have questions or comments, anything along that way, if you drop those in the chat or the Q&A, then we're going to try to answer any of those at the conclusion of Sherry's presentation. I do just want to take a second and thank Scott Hawbaker for getting all of this set up for us. He does amazing work for our association, and we appreciate that. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Sherry.
Okay, thank you so much. This came about because last year we always struggle to get applicants for some of our leadership roles, whether it's a committee chair or regional vice chair. And we thought, well, maybe we needed to do something to have so everybody had a better understanding of what needs to happen at these different levels. So we kind of titled this Step Up and Lead, and we're hoping to encourage each of you to step up into leadership roles. And hopefully you're starting at the state and will step up into regional vice chair and state chair, national chairs. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If I can make my slides move, it's always different when you're doing a webinar. There we go. So like Scott Jensen said, we have we're structured where everybody has to report to somebody else. So the top of our structure is our NACAA board, the president-elect, which will be the incoming president, who this year's Keith Michler, and then vice president, who we just met with, is Scott Jensen. And then each of us council chairs work underneath the vice president. And like he said, I'm a part of the Professional Improvement Council, and you can see all the different committees that fall underneath that. David Marison from the Ohio State, I want to make sure I get that right because I've gotten a little bit of a chewing on that one. The Ohio State is over the Extension Development Council. That one is kind of the smaller council with four committees. And then the Program Recognition Council, and that's Johnny Harper from Missouri Extension. That's the one that's kind of all the awards and stuff. And we'll talk a little bit more about those in just a second. So roles within the NACAA, these are all building blocks of how to move up within this organization if that's what you want to do and have a desire to do that. Again, just kind of what each one of these councils do. The Extension Development Council strives to enhance the professionalism of our members by providing them opportunities for strengthening their leadership and educational delivery skills. So a lot of those are the administrative and skills, or education and technology. Those are the type of committees that fit underneath them. The Professional Improvement Council, that's the council that was designed to better fulfill NACAA's mission to further the professional improvement of our members by providing those memberships opportunities to present and receive specific subject matter information. So underneath that council, which is my council, are things like the Horton turf grass, agronomy and pest management, 4-H and youth development. This is where you can submit an application to present something, and then get your some professional development hours by going and listening to those presentations. And I'm going to tell you, in both Extension Development Council and the Professional Improvement Council, there have been some fantastic presenters and topics. Those are done by an application system. So each year we only have so many time slots that we can fill. So it is very competitive. So just think about that too. We're trying to design both of those that meet the high expectations of our membership. Now, the Program Recognition Council, that's Johnny's. That contains the committees that administer the award-based programs, and that has been a traditional part of NACAA forever. I'll just say that I kind of grew up in this organization and go into NACAA meetings in the Sons and Daughters program, and I always remember that those awards programs were just huge. As we got older, we were allowed to go in with our parents if my dad was receiving an award or whatever. And it always awe-inspiring to me of what a big deal it was. And it is a big deal because these are nationwide awards. You're competing against your peers across the nation. So really good. That's always been kind of the foundation of NACAA and a traditional part of us. So we're going to talk about the committee descriptions, what's expected of these different roles that within NACAA. We're going to start with leadership as either chair or vice chair, and vice chairs there's one from each region with each committee. Those are a 2-year term with a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. And what we need people to realize, and I think this is where people get confused, is they think they serve all 4 years. After that first 2 years is up, you do have to reapply if you want to stay in that position. And I know in the past there's been some people upset because they just thought they could serve that second term, but you do have to reapply. So I want everybody that's here to understand that. Take that back to your states so that if you know somebody that's in those positions and their 2 years is almost up, they do have to reapply. Each committees review, expand, and establish a network for proposals and or plans and make use of those advisory groups. So that's kind of what we're doing as the committee. The national chair is kind of communicating with the regional vice chairs. Regional vice chairs are communicating with the states that are in their regions. And it's a good way to network and meet those people from across the nation. We also hope that these committees are soliciting members to present either papers, submit their applications for awards or posters or whatever that may be, to present those at our AMPIC, wherever that may be each year. So that's kind of a quick little description of what the committee should be doing. So we're going to talk about the responsibilities, and I've kind of broke out that little chart that we had a little bit of council chairs to national committee chairs to vice chairs to our state committee chairs. So for council chairs, we have a 3-year term. That's it. There is no re-upping. You serve 1 3-year term and then your time is done. Nominations of the council chairs, we have to do an application just like everybody else. We make that application, the vice president kind of goes through it, and then each regional director has kind of a say in that, and then you're approved by our national board. We represent the council on the EPC council, which is, Scott Jensen, I just went blank. Scott Jensen, remind me, extension, executive professional council or program council, sorry.
How about executive program committee?
Thank you. Thank you. I knew I'd forget something, but that was it. Thank you, Scott. But we conduct and facilitate council meetings. That's either at our AMPIC or some of them are doing quarterly Zooms and that type of thing. We facilitate those council meetings with each of our national chairs. And then we select nominations for committee chairs, for those national committee chairs and regional vice chairs. We kind of solicit those nominations and try to make recommendations to the board. So make sure that you're reading the magazine, whether it's online or if you still get the paper copy, that's fine. Read those, read the magazine and follow those deadlines, because those are coming up after the first of the year. So kind of keep that in mind. So national committee chairs, what are their responsibilities? They represent their program committee on the council, and they conduct their program committee meetings at our AMPIC. And we encourage that's kind of one of your responsibilities. So first of all, if you're going to be a national committee chair, you need to show up. Big deal there. You need to show up. Regional vice chairs, you're kind of expected to show up too. And hopefully your state chairs are participating. And I highly encourage all of our regional vice chairs to reach out to the state chairs and say, hey, our committee meeting is whatever day it's scheduled, and encourage them to show up and have input, because just like Extension, we are a grassroots organizations. We can't make changes unless it's coming from our membership. So it's very important that we have participation in those program committee meetings. Any reports or anything that needs to be moved forward, they'll report directly to their council chair. Our national committee chairs maintain that historical database of resources for all committee activities for future use. So when I came into this position, Keith Michler was in this position before I was. He emailed me a zip file full of stuff from, I haven't even gotten through all of it, going way back. So it's very important that we have those records and that we're passing them on to the next person. That national committee chair will also serve as a mentor for their regional vice chairs, state chairs, and their committee members, just kind of setting the example of what needs to be happening within that committee. And every committee is a little bit different in how they do things, and that's okay. So if you want to start out and kind of do as a regional vice chair, kind of like I said a while ago, you serve as a liaison between the national committee and the state committee chairs in the region that you're representing. You'll participate in committee meetings held by the committee chair. So you need to kind of show up at AMPIC and anything else that the committee chair is doing. Some of those are resuming or having discussions either monthly or quarterly. Make sure you try to participate. I know life happens, but try to do the best you can to participate in those so you know what's going on. They're also responsible for soliciting and reviewing the applications from the region they represent. So our regional vice chairs, before anything should be moved up to the national chair, they should really be looking at those applications and make sure that it fulfills all the requirements that they have for whatever it is. If it's an award application, are all the documents attached? Is it a presentation? Is it a quality abstract? Those are the kind of things that our regional vice chairs kind of should be looking at before they move things up the chain. And just maintain communications with the state chairs. You know, as a regional vice chair, I've served in all of these roles, moving up to this council chair position. It's good to get out, make sure that everybody are aware of deadlines. Push those out to your state chair. Make sure that they're pushing it out to the state membership. So just kind of keep a communication going, and sometimes a friendly reminder helps boost what we're getting in. Our state chairs act as liaisons between the membership and the state association and the regional vice chair. They serve as a conduit for information about the committees, any activities and programs that are going on, and share ideas, thoughts, and concerns up that chain of command, kind of like we've been talking about. There are some benefits to serving in these leadership roles, and we're going to discuss that just a little bit. So again, council chairs and national committee chairs, y'all are the ones that kind of get the best benefit so far. You got to kind of move up. The council chairs, that's the three of us mentioned up front. We attend winter board meetings when we're able to, and reimbursed for attending them. As a national chair and committee council chair, your registration and expenses for the AMPIC are reimbursed. You have to pay for everything up front, but it is reimbursed for attending the AMPIC. Excuse me. This also, for those of you who go through a promotion process within your states, this is a great way to show national leadership experience in your promotion document or VITA. So those are things to consider too. Regional vice chairs. Theirs is a little bit differently. Your registration fee for your AMPIC is reimbursed for attending. Also, that gives you an experience to apply for that next step as a national committee chair position. Again, it looks really good in a promotion document or a vita. State chairs. The state chairs kind of have some of they've got the workload, because if they're like Arkansas, there's several of the different committees or awards and presentations that are very competitive. So they're the ones that have to kind of weed through everything first to get it on up the line. So, but that looks really good for a leadership opportunity at the state level. Very good experience in understanding how the committee structure works at the state level before moving into that next position as a regional vice chair. And again, everything looks good. And when you're having that kind of leadership role in your promotion documents and vitas. So we're just going to kind of quickly summarize this. This is, like I said, going to be very short. Just look at the different roles that are available. And if you're interested in it, apply. Notice that is in all caps with an exclamation point. If you're interested, apply. Apply for more than one position. If you're interested in a couple of different positions, apply for both, because some committees are very competitive. But if you're willing to serve in another role in a different committee that may or may not be as competitive, that might be a good opportunity. It's always helpful if you've started and done some work at the state level, so that you have an understanding of how that committee works. Make sure that you can fulfill your responsibility that goes with your position. That may mean, we've had national chairs that say they didn't know they had to be at AMPIC. Well, yeah, that's kind of the big deal. You're basically kind of getting, I'll use air quotes here, getting paid to be there with reimbursement. So if you're going to apply for a national committee position or even a regional vice chair position, it's very important that you can fulfill that role with your position, because things get hung up. Again, the higher the leadership role, the more responsibility. So that's something that needs to be considered as well. There are benefits with these leadership roles in this organization. I don't know how our sister organizations work as far as Epsilon Sigma Phi, the 4-H or FCS. I don't know if they do the same thing that we do, but for us, this is a great benefit and encourages people to be in leadership roles. Again, you heard me say it 3 times already. Promotion documents of Vita shows those leaderships at different level. And again, some financial perks to those roles depending on the role. So at this time, we're going to let Mr. Jensen filter any questions or anything that may be out there. This was kind of really short and sweet. I do want to stop sharing and show one thing before I let him speak. Stop share. Okay. If you have not had the opportunity, there's the committee handbook. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to say Mr. Marison went through this and whittled it down. It is a whopping 38 pages long. I think at one point in time, it was 3 times as big. Very easy to read, very simplified, very streamlined. So if you want more information and I didn't get it covered, I kind of hit the high points here. This is a great resource. It's on our NACAA website. I printed this off a couple of days ago, but pretty handy. And it has some examples of committee activity reports and some other examples. So it's not all reading. There are some templates in there for you to use as well. Okay, I will be quiet now and let Mr. Jensen say whatever he needs to say or field any questions.
Well, so far I don't see any questions. Thank you though, Sherry. There's
Okay.
a couple of things that came to mind as you were talking, and one of them is I just throw it out. Somebody answer this question in the chat. Or what's the application deadline? If you're interested in serving, when do you need to apply? If nothing else, I know that our president-elect, Mr. Michler, is on, and I'm pretty sure he knows that deadline. Or maybe he's sleeping. I don't know. I don't see anything popping up there. I'll go ahead and break the news. March the 15th, same deadline as basically all of the rest of the NACAA award applications and presentation stuff. All of that stuff is deadlines are, we have moved to standardize that so that we can avoid some of the confusion. And then the one other comment that I would make is that we really can only select individuals to serve in committee chair and vice chair roles out of the members that apply. And so I'll be honest with you, every year as we get towards the end, of trying to fill all of the positions, we do end up with some positions that we're scrambling for, and we put the word out to regional directors to try to encourage folks, from whatever region we might need an individual. We try to encourage them to get folks to apply. And so there are opportunities that I know sometimes you might think on national roles, somehow I'm just not qualified yet or whatever. Don't think that. There are opportunities and like I said earlier, we can only select out of those that apply. I did get a text. Keith is not asleep. He said his chat feature's not working. That's why he didn't answer the question. So, but really we'd like to have a good diverse set of individuals apply for these not awards, but for these leadership roles within our association, and then we'll make our we'll fill the positions out of those. So Amy Albertson asked the question, when will the vacancies be posted? That will come out in the magazine. So Mr. Hawbaker is diligently working on that. Comes out, you'll have to tell us, Scott, when to expect that to hit the inboxes or the mailboxes, but it's coming soon, I know.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, the positions are currently available online. That the spots that do have vacancies are currently listed. There are a couple of modifications that I will be making in the next day or two for at least 3 committee vice chair roles that are currently not showing up as being eligible. But yeah, within the dashboard, you will see an icon. I believe it's under the you kind of have the very top section of the dashboard deals with like your member profile, and then there's another one that says applications. There should be a green shaded box that says leadership application. I think I may be wrong, because I don't have that website open right now, but within that category, it will show you which leadership spots are available.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Had one other comment and question come in, and I'll just read it. It says, I got to attend my first in-person AMPIC this year, but despite attending a committee meeting, I've not really heard anything about the committee since. So the question is, how active are committees, and what's the time commitment for somebody to step up into one of these roles? And so the answer to that is that it really varies a lot, committee to committee. For example, the very first one I served on was the Professional Excellence Committee, which handles the poster session. And during the majority of the year, there just isn't much to do there. But once poster applications started to come in, well, that's when things really kind of took off for us. And so it was I guess it was the last, for the most part, it was the last month or so prior to the AMPIC. And then we had the day of the poster judging at AMPIC. We were quite busy, but that's how that one was. I've served on the Animal Science Committee, and we spent some time in working on the pre-tour, and spent time reviewing once presentation applications had come in. Well, then, we met as a committee then. Overall, though, I guess it still is a difficult question to answer because it varies so much, but for the most part, I think serving as a regional committee vice chair, that maybe a few hours, if that, during a good portion of the year, and then as it gets closer to the AMPIC, it ramps up a bit. But for me personally, I guess I've been able to manage that reasonably well. So I don't know, Sherry or Johnny, do either one of you have any additional input there?
I would just want to say that if you've got, if you have questions about a CERT committee that you're interested in, either reach out to your state chair or the regional vice chair and just say, hey, what should we be doing? Because like you said, every committee is a little bit different. Some, it's kind of a last minute getting everything done situation. And some of them are working throughout the year to do super seminars and webinars like these. So I would just say reach out to your state committee first, and your regional vice chair is my comment on that one.
When I got started being on all those different committees and everything on there, is I really would encourage you pick something that you're really interested in. Like I started out as the agronomy and pest and vice chair on there, and then I've kind of moved through on their recognition and awards. Our committee, we do a lot more work at the conference. There is some, depending on, like, if you're the ones who help with the DSA, the AA, and the Hall of Fame, there's some information that you have to get through. So it's a little bit more work after January, and then we have the conferences and different things, but we get to give away a lot of money, and we get to recognize all the great work that everyone's doing. So I really enjoy the recognition committee quite a bit, because we finally get to pat everybody on the back and hand some checks out. So
Thanks, Johnny. And then I see that Keith posted in the Q&A that we can find the committee responsibilities and a calendar of events. So it kind of will lay out a little bit of when you can expect, that there's more work to do. And all of that is found in the committee handbook, and Keith put a link to that handbook in the Q&A. All right, if there are, I don't see any other questions or comments. Give you just a minute for any follow-up to that. But again, I would just encourage you to get on the website, look at what opportunities are available to serve, and then go ahead and apply. And we really we need you. Association needs you, and it's a great opportunity to just meet folks from across the country and serve the members of our association. So with that, looks like that's all the questions we have. So thank you, Sherry, for the presentation, and thank you to each one of you for taking the time to join, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Have a great day.